Hello and welcome to the oddschecker betting show. This is your Cheltenham November meeting preview. I'm your host, George Elek, and given that we've got 3 days of racing to get through, we thought we would just go to the main man himself, as I'm joined by oddschecker's very own Andy Holding as we look ahead to this big first weekend of the jump season over here in the UK. Andy, it's always winter's here, I think, when the November meeting comes around, but it's always a good spectacle at least. What are we expecting from this weekend and how are the conditions looking?
Very favourable tomorrow, George, for punters and for horses. No appreciable rain, nice dry bright day, probably going to be affected by low sun. I dare say they're going to be taking hurdles and fences out if the sun rears its ugly head, if that's the right phrase. So a little bit patchy tomorrow regards number of fences they'll be emitting. Saturday not so good, a little bit inclement, a little bit of rain coming through, and then Sunday the same. So probably going to let it get a little bit softer from what it is at the moment. Soft, good to soft in places for the Paddy Power, the big one on Saturday, and the Great Wood on the Sunday. But really looking forward to it. And I was actually trying to work out earlier on before I did this podcast how many years I've been going to this meeting, and I would say it's probably getting on for 35 years.
Wow.
40, maybe even 40. My dad used to take me when I was a teenager, just felt like 15, 16, and I'm 55 now. So yeah, you do the math. It's been a long time, and so this is very much an annual pilgrimage for me to go to Cheltenham for the Paddy Power meeting.
Still waiting to back that first winner, Andy. We'll get there this year. I'm just joking, of course. We're going to get into the racing now, and Andy, we've been doing these shows for a fair few years now, and I think this is probably the shortest amount of time between us recording and the race that we're talking about, because we're going to kick off. We're going to go through Friday's racing. We're going to go through the card, but we're recording this at 4:30 on Thursday afternoon, and so less than 24 hours until the first at Cheltenham on Friday gets underway, and that is the handicap hurdle over 2 miles and 5 furlongs, the 110. I'm going to be going through this on the oddschecker grid, so make sure you download the oddschecker app for the best prices, bookie offers, free bets, and Andy sits straight to the app every morning of racing. But in the first, we've got joint favourites as it stands at the moment, White Rhino and Skytastic. White Rhino on the drift, Skytastic being back to short as 9-2 and 4-1 elsewhere. They're both 6-1. Gentle and Kind 15-2. Off to a Flyer 9-1. Fathom 2 10-1. Pinnacle Peak 12-1. Uncle Bert 12-1. Knockanor 12-1. 16-1 bar those. Andy, can you give us a winner in the first at Cheltenham for the November meeting?
Hopefully, yeah. Interesting money for Ben Paulin's new acquisitions. Skytastic used to be with, of course, Sam Thomas. Very highly regarded with Sam, but rather lost his way. So I think punters are hoping that Ben's worked his magic there with Skytastic. Still waiting for Ben Paulin's horses to really catch fire, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was to happen here at this meeting. Obviously, one of Ben's local tracks, if not the actual local, the closest proximity to his course, to his training establishment, sorry. But I do think the Irish have got a strong hand here. Gordon Elek won this race last year with a horse that improved to the sort of lower regions of the Irish sort of summer jumping fraternity. And he's got a horse called Fathom 2, who has gone under a very, very similar path. He got beat last time out of Down Royal, having won there the time before, but I left that race thinking he should have won, really. It was a bit of a messy race. He made a mistake at the last, and it became a little bit of a sprint up the hill, and he just got done. So technically, he's still a horse that he's very much on the improve, even though he didn't win. I kind of like marked him up as the moral winner. And it's meant that he's coming here off a very good mark. I think that Gavin Cromwell, having won the race last year, with that sweet will, has probably had this race on mind for one of his inmates of a similar fashion, and this one fits the bill this year, around about 10-1. I think that's a good price for him. He's a strong stay at the trip. He's knocked out a couple of good time figures that we've got, and the other one is Gentle and Kind from the Henry de Bromhead stable. Henry's also in great form, actually owned by predominantly a bunch of UK racegoers and punters. I know one of them who's been attached with the horses from Henry before, and this has very much been the plan. I can pass on that message for Gentle and Kind ever since it won at Tremor last time out. Got the job done in really good fashion. Beat a horse called Reverend Reverend Hubert, who finished third, night catching third. Now, Reverend Hubert has gone on to finish third behind Butch here at the last meeting, rated 135 now, Reverend Hubert. And this horse gets in off 116. So again, you're looking at that mark being protected since it won at Tremor. You could see why they were keen to sort of like get their powder dry and not want to show their hand to a degree. So it's very low. So I think that we've got two very well handicapped Irish horses here, Fathom 2 and Gentle and Kind, and I'll be playing them against the field.
Yeah, Gentle and Kind 15-2 pretty much across the board there, and Fathom 2 10-1 with Bet365, Bet Victor, Coral. Most firms here 5 places, Sky Bet and Paddy's both 6. So make sure you check your place terms. Onto the 145 now. The handicap chase over 2 miles, and Calico is the 9-2 favourite ahead of Triple Trade at 5-1. Bally Breeze, the one here that's being punted at the moment, 5-1 best price now, but a short was 130 in places. Do Your Job 13-2, Guy 12-1, Walking Clover 12-1, Madara 14, 16-1 bar those. A couple of firms here going 4 places. There are 11 runners. That's Bet365, Hills, Betfred, and Live Score Bet, Andy.
Yeah, Triple Trade for me here, from a stable in great form. Joe Tizard ran a perfectly respectable race on his seasonal appearance behind Dancing on Our Own over the course and distance. I happen to think that race is probably even stronger than the one he tackles on Friday. He was towards the back of the field early on, but made relentless progress to the back end of the race and ended up finishing in never near a second. That certainly suggested that he's trained on from last season. Of course, he won his last 2 starts towards the back end at Wincanton and Kempton respectively. So he's gone from being a little bit of a flat track bully to now proving that he can handle the limitations at Cheltenham. And considering that was his first run ever at the track, I'd imagine, or like to think anyway, he'd improve from that experience. So yeah, anything each way about Triple Trade seems the answer to that puzzle.
Yeah, Triple Trade 5-1 best price at the moment. That's with the Betfair Sportsbook, where 3 places. You can get 9-2 with 365 and 4 places, which could be the way to play this one. The 220 now. The Arkle Trial over 2 miles again. JPR1 is the favourite here at 6-4. Just 4 runners in this one. Mighty Tom 11-4. Petit Tonnerre 7-2, and On Public 11-2. Andy. So just the 4 runners, but all 4 of them come here with live chances. Who do you think is the value at this stage?
Well, if you recall when we were doing the 5 to follow the other day, I put up JPR1 as one of them. So he's got to really win this to justify my inclusion of him in that list. He was really impressive on his chasing debut at Newton Abbot. That was 27 days ago. And he beat 2 useful horses. I mean, Isio had won well the time before at the same track, and he absolutely battered him. He was chased down in the end by Monvial, who's a useful horse for the Harry Durham setup. I think he'll be winning soon. And the time figure that this horse posted, even though there was only 3 runners, was quite astonishing. They went a good gallop that day, so it was a really good test at the trip, and he came through with flying colours. The key to his performance was his jumping, George. He was absolutely foot perfect all the way through. So you'd like to think that he'll be able to handle Cheltenham. In fact, I think he'll excel at Cheltenham because obviously a horse that can jump well is going to be saving ground and saving energy, more importantly. He faces 3 opponents who probably, it's fair to say, are short of grade 2 company. I think this is quite a weak grade 2. I know Connections JPR1 were eyeing up that handicap on the Sunday, which he would have looked a good thing off his mark of 134, but they've decided to come here with a lot of horses defecting and going elsewhere, unexpected party runs in the Paddy Power, etc., etc. So if ever he was going to win a grade 2, this is it. I think he's got Mighty Tom to beat, who ran really well behind a nice horse called Let's Be Clear About It over in Ireland. That form has already been franked by the 4th horse winning the other day. So I think Mighty Tom's a fair horse, but whether he's got the potential to be as good as what JPR1 is very much open to question. I think the market's about right, even though the rating suggests Mighty Tom's the one. And I'm hopeful that he'll certainly make up into the horse. I think he will do over fences. So yeah, the potential's there. So hopefully he can get the job done.
Yeah, 6-2 with every single firm on the grids there for JPR1. Andy hoping that he can justify his faith in him from that horses to follow pod. We did one for UK National Hunt Racing. We did one with Johnny Ward as well for Irish. So if you haven't watched Irish horses, so if you haven't watched that yet, make sure you do go and check that out. Plenty of good nuggets in there. The cross country now. And Delta Work is, of course, the 5-2 favourite, ahead of Galvin at 7-2. Back on the Lash, 13-2. Diesel Dallier, 15-2. Late Night Pass, 9-1. Frankie de Burle, 16-1. Foxy Jack, 16-1. Musical Slave, 16-1. 40-1 bar those. And this is where I think a few people who are on course, Andy, will go and get a pint of Guinness and have a bit of a watching brief. Where do you see, or do you see any value here in tomorrow's cross country?
Yeah, I like these races. I actually think these races are becoming more and more popular. The race goes. I mean, they go out onto the track. They absolutely mug the inside of the track and go close up and personal and watch the horses on the when they come round the sort of in front of the stands area. So no, I think it's a great spectacle. It definitely has its place in amongst the rest of the card. Whether you see it as a genuine betting medium, he's obviously having to personal choice. Nobody's forcing your hand to have a bet. I quite like Delta Work. I mean, he beat Galvin in last year's cross country, and I think the key to him, arguably over Galvin, is the fact that he's already had a run. He had a run 37 days ago behind Manila Indo. That would have blown away the cobwebs. Whereas Galvin, he's having his seasonal reappearance. He might just take the run. So I'd certainly prefer Delta Work. And I think the interesting one of the UK runners is Dan Skelton's new acquisition, Late Night Pass, who ran a Gallant race, if you recall, in the Fox Hunters over the big fences towards the back end of last season. He's a quality pointer. Obviously, he's got to prove himself over the track and more predominantly over the trip. I don't think he's raced beyond 3 miles before, but he's got a good cruising speed, and if he takes to it, he could be very, very interested in this category. But as it stands, I think Delta Work is a reasonably good bet given his experience over the fences.
Delta Work 5-2 with Bet365, Paddy Power Hills, and the Betfair Sportsbook. Delta Work the favourite. Late Night Pass, if you think you're willing to take a chance, 9-1 with Bet365 and 888 Sport. We're rattling through Friday's racing. That's because we're going to go through Saturday and Sunday as well. But a look here to the novice hurdle now of 2 miles and 5 furlongs. And Captain Teague is the 4-6 favourite here. With the big Doyen 6-1, Kinbara 13-2, Sequestered 12-1, Moon over Clune 20-1, as is Manila Missile, Wild Side of Life 50-1, 100-1 Supreme Commander. It means we've got 8 runners as it stands, 8 runners in a 4-6 favourite here, Andy. You know what I'm thinking, but I saw in your Andy, you put out an article or a column online on the oddschecker site this week of a few horses whose odds might tumble if they go and do what's expected. And of course, Captain Teague for the Ballymore was one of those, currently 14-1 as it stands.
Yeah, to be unfair, George, I didn't have a great deal of choice to try and nominate horses that might run well at the festival because there's only 4 or 5 that could possibly fall into that category. Yeah, it was a bit threadbare, that column. But no, I mean, Captain Teague, I think he's one of the sort of preeminent horses of the next 3 days. He sprinkles a bit of stardust, arguably, on this race because other than him, it's certainly not what you'd normally expect for Grade 2 standard. It's definitely a below level renewal, and given he was 3rd in the Champion Bumper, he's already proven that he can jump hurdles in the Persian War. He won in a good time. He just looks a thorough stayer and a really likeable type. His technique could do with tidying up a bit, but that will come in time. And dare I say, this looks a fairly straightforward task for him on paper. He's obviously got to go and prove himself over the hurdles around Cheltenham, but I don't see that being a problem. He's just a really nice horse. I think the Challow hurdle has been talked about as a possible target for him after he maybe takes this. Unfortunately, that'll probably ruin his chances of winning at Cheltenham. Any horse that wins a Challow is done for as regards the festivals. We know what happened to Hermes Allen last year after he won it. But yeah, I think he'll win this and win this easily. I think Sequestered is one to perhaps talk about without the favourite. He did well to win last time out at Galway. He jumped a bit indifferently that day, but he still managed to win despite a circuitous passage through it. And he's very much on the improve. Yeah, I actually think 4-6 is not a bad price for Captain Teague. I think he'll go off a good deal shorter than that.
Goes off a good deal shorter, possibly, but at this stage, 4-6 pretty much across the board for Captain Teague. Andy sadly not giving me any each way filth in that affair.
Well, sequestered is the alternative, but he can't beat Captain Teague. He'd need to pull or something go wrong with it.
12-1 sequestered is with a couple of firms, including 365 Hills and a couple of others. On to the last race on the card, the handicap hurdle over 2 miles. Impose Trois is the 3-1 favourite for Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville. Caithness 6-1. Down there for dancing is 9-1. Brook Bay 9-1. Belgo Prince 10-1. Showman 11-1. 12-1. Bar those, Andy.
Yeah, again, 2 Irish horses stand out here, George. The first of them is Showman from the Peter Fahey stable. I put up a horse that beat him on my column the other day called Conyers Hill, trained by Paul Nolan, and I was really confident of Conyers Hill winning that day. He was my nap. And this horse gave me an absolute heart attack, the Friday of my life, because he came out the last looking like he was maybe going to beat Conyers Hill. He certainly made Conyers Hill fight all the way to the line, but the pair were well clear. Time was good. And prior to that, he'd been a horse called Yates Star, who went on to win next time out at Downpatrick. So I think his overall form suggests that he is very much going to be a leading player if he takes to Cheltenham. The ground's fine for him. So Showman would be my number 1 pick. And the other one to mention as well, who's a slightly bigger price, a little bit under the radar, is Sequoia Spirit from the Ray Hackett stable. He's yet to win over hurdles, but he did run really well at this style when we last saw him in a race that was run at True Gallop, won by Gold Speed. The form of that race has worked out well. The third horse, Buddy, won. He went to Galway the other day and won for the Paul Gilligan stable. And given that Sequoia Spirit was the only one to go around the inside of the track that day on the swamp and finish close up 5th, I think that was an upgradable run. So a game or two against the field, similar to the first race, George, is 2 Irish trained horses, Showman and Sequoia Spirit.
Yeah, great stuff. Sequoia Spirit 20-1 with 365 and Hills for both 5 places. 11-1 is standout with Bet365 for Showman as short as 7-1 in a couple of places. If you want the 6 places, just one firm at the moment going 6 places, that is Skybet. They're 15-2 about Showman and they're 18-1 about Sequoia Spirit. So plenty of big opinions, plenty of selections there for Andy and Friday's racing. Obviously, we know that a lot of you will be probably listening to this or watching this after some of those have already gone. So if you have had to scrub across and you found us on Saturday, this is where it starts with the 12:35. The opening race on the card is the Triumph Trial over just an extended 2 miles, where Milantino is the 6-4 favourite ahead of Bird at Road at 5-2. Anbradan Facer is 7-1. Gifted Angel 8-1. 14-1 bar those. 11 run at this stage, Andy. These prices are kind of fairly new after final decks earlier on today, but most firms now out. This is, in your wheelhouse, I guess, with a couple of these having just 1 or 2 runs.
Yeah, Bird at Road sets a reasonably good standard over here. He clocked a good time when he won at Huntingdon, and this was the nominated race for him out thereafter. But unfortunately for him and connections, he runs against this Milantino. Now, I have been doing a little bit of work just for myself, really, for my own personal benefit, with a few of those good quality auto races to get a handle on how good some of them potentially are when they come over here. I think there's been a few names that have been mentioned that might come over for your Kemptons and your Cheltenhams along the way. Now, Milantino ran in a very good race last time out when he finished third. He finished third behind a horse called Gig Me. Now, Gig Me is the best up to now juvenile that we've seen over in France. Gig Me went on to win at listed level again the other day, and I thought Milantino ran a really nice race behind him. Now, doing the sort of circuit times which I do and compare them with other races on that card, that Gig Me come out really well in comparison behind a horse called Thelmes, who is, I think, around about a 16-1 shot to win the Stayers Hurdle. I think Thelmes is supposedly the best 3-mile stayer in France. They reckon he's better than Gold Trip. Not Gold Trip. Is it Goldwell, the horse that ran in last year's Stayers? Having won the well, I think he won the Rail Kiel, didn't he? At the
this year's Stayers.
Yeah, he finished. I'm sure he finished just outside the frame in the Stayers. That French horse.
Gold Tweet.
Gold Tweet. Sorry, that's the one. Gold Tweet.
Yeah.
I needed 3 attempts to get his name right. But yeah, that Thelmes is supposed to be better than that. Now, this juvenile race was exactly the same circuit time as Thelmes. So if you take into consideration he ran against the best French juvenile, and he was compared to a really good 2.5 mile Grade 1 older horse, he's obviously a fair tool. So I could see why he's favourite. So yeah, Melantino, very, very strong representation there from the French contingent.
Interesting that Jigme, who beat Melantino and as you say won again 4 days ago, has been sent to stud. So that's
amazing.
Jigme.
Yeah, amazing.
That
is a surprise. Yeah, he's a quality horse, that Jigme. So yeah, well,
they've decided to cash in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Melantino 6-4 then. Be interesting to see how Melantino gets on. Not often, I guess, you'd have a French maiden looking, heading up a market like this, but that's where we are now. But you'd kind of hope, wouldn't you? I mean, I guess with the green and gold, you're not going to get it. You'd hope that ones like that might go under the radar and you get a price. But here they are sitting at, you think maybe a few years ago, some decent form at Auteuil you may have snuck in, but not the case now. Burdett Road, 5-2, flying the flag, I guess, for the Brits. So no selection. Would you say the prices there, Andy, at this stage?
I think Melantino. Yeah, I think he'll win. Yeah, I think he's a good horse. Yeah, I mean, Burnett Road, he is a decent animal, but he's whether he's quite sort of like a two mile, a stiff 2 mile horse on what's likely to be soft ground. I'd have my doubts. I think he wants better ground, and that might just catch him out against a really strong French horse.
On to the amateur jockeys race, the second race on the card, the 110. Reed to Return is 7-1 favourite. Mole Court, Strictly a Dancer, Brampton Bell, all 8-1. Hasker Clement is 10-1, 12-1. Grandad's Cottage, Man of the People, Chambard, T Clipper, Latitude. As you'd expect, Andy, very, very open in terms of the betting here. Most firms paying 5 places. Can you get a steer on it for us?
Yeah, I like Reed to Return. I think this is almost classic Tony Martin. He hasn't really brought one over and landed a touch over here for a little while. But I think this one could go off any price, really. I mean, he bolted it when he won last time at Killarney. He won with any amount in hand. I think Philip Enright did really well to mask how much he got underneath the bonnet. He runs it off a £15 higher mark, but I'm not necessarily sure that tells the true story. Anyway, I think he might be capable of more. He loved the ground. He seems to thrive over a strongly run race, and he could be very, very sneaky in here with the Irish conditional taking 7 off. So without sort of like waxing lyrical over too many in that race, I'll just cut to the chase with Reed to Return. I think he's potentially very well treated.
Reed to Return 7-1 with 365 Sky Bet and Betfred. Sky Bet's also paying an extra place there. Well, 2 extra places really, going 5th to 6th. So that's your place to go if you want to follow in Andy with Reed to Return. The 145, we've got the Novice Chase over 3 miles. Mr. Coffee is the 11-4 favourite ahead of We've All Been Caught at 7-2. Good Risk at All being smashed up 7-2 now, but that is going to be gone by the time this goes out. Kind of 9-4, 5-2, so probably will be favourite by the time this goes out. Broadway Boy 5-1, Alaphilippe 13-2, 150-1 for Cloudy Flamingo. Can you see why we're seeing the big punt on Good Risk at All for the Sam Thomas team?
Yeah, I've backed him at 7-2. Actually, we're one of those firms that are still going 7-2. Whether that's still there, I don't know, but he just totally out of whack. He should be favourite, and I think he will end up being favourite. I mean, he's the best horse in the race, isn't he, on hurdles ratings? I mean, he's a good bit better than Mr. Coffee. He's a good bit better than Broadway Boy. If this is a hurdle race, he'd be even money. And we already know he jumps the fence. We beat Alaphilippe, who reopposes by 16 lengths. I mean, we lost Giovinco, didn't we, at the third last, but he was going just as well as Giovinco before he capsized. Probably would have been a good race between the two. He goes well around Cheltenham. He's got everything you look for, really. He's track form, over hurdles, good quality horse, a strong traveller, handles soft ground, just a likeable type. He should be. I'd have him in at 7-4, not 7-2.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, that 7-2 currently is with Bet MGM and Bet UK. The next best you're going to get after that is 3-1 with 888, and then it's all 5-2, 9-4, which I have a feeling might be the best available by the time this goes out, given the way the market is moving. 220, big race on the card, the Paddy Power Gold Cup. over 2.5 miles. Stage Star is the favourite here at 5-1 ahead of the Real Wacker, Cheltenham Festival hero from last year at 7-1. Unexpected Party 7-1. Not Long Till May 7-1. El Rodotto 17-2. Fugitive 10-1. Easy as that. And Angel's Breath both 12-1, 14-1 bar. And the top quality renewal, it looks like on paper at least. How do you see this?
Absolutely, George. Yeah, really quality, classy renewal of the Paddy Power. A race steeped in history. I remember the sort of golden days of Lady Cricket and Tipping Tim, back in the 90s and 80s and stuff like that. So it's a race dear to my heart. I always love to try and back the winner of this. And I think in the Shabba, Not Long Till May, I don't think I'll be far away. Whether he's good enough to win, I don't know, but he should be there or thereabouts. He was a good second to Stage Star in the Turners at the festival, so he handles the track, and he proved that ability to handle Pressbury when he was second the other day beyond that Dancing on My Own. The fact that Laura Mongham gave him a run over 2 miles to blow away the cobwebs, I think will stand him in good stead. He hit the line really strong the other day over an adequate trip. He won't mind the ground. He seems progressive. So yeah, it looks fairly uncomplicated with him. I think 7-1 each way, 5 places. Unless he does something disastrous, you'd like to think you'll get your money back at the very least. So yeah, Not Long Till May, quite a strong choice there in the Paddy Power this year.
Not Long Till May 7-1 with pretty much all firms and a few of them going 5 places, as you say. Bet365, Paddy Power and Hills, all 7-1 5 places. Sky Bet 5 places as well, but they are 13-2. 3 more races on the card on Saturday. We've got the handicap hurdle now over 3 miles. Buddy One is the 6-1 favourite ahead of Judicial Law at 13-2. PlaceNet 7-1. Shan Blue 8-1. Mocha Devassi, the one being backed here, currently 9-1, but as short as 13-2. Chantry House also 9-1. Double figure prices, the rest of them. Andy, we've got 15 entered here. Obviously, as we know, given this is Saturday and the forecast is a bit more unsettled into Saturday, these fields might cut up a fair bit. Who do you see as being the value at this stage?
Yeah, I think I'll just rattle through these last 3 races, George, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got a strong opinion on any of them, if I'm being honest. I might actually have an early bath with regards to getting away from Cheltenham because I'm coming home on Saturday. I'd probably stick around for the 255 because I think Buddy One will go well here. He was really good last time out at Galway. He's just a very consistent type, as you can see by his form figures. He ran well behind Iroko in the Martin Pipe conditional jockeys race, and the fact that Jack Gilligan rides him as well has got to be a feather in his cap because Jack gets on really well with his horse. He takes the 7 off, so he eases his burden. He's just guaranteed to run his race. Buddy One each way in the 255. I definitely won't be stopping around for the last 2 races, but Resplendent Grey, I think, has got the best form in the 330. Second to Captain Teague the other day.
130 best price.
I mean, he's rated 127, but this looks absolute rubbish, this race. I mean, what this is doing on this card, I do not know. I mean, there's hardly a decent horse in it, with the greatest respect to a lot of them. And yet he represents Grade 2 form, so I think he'll be a good deal shorter than 130. And I haven't got any opinion in the mare's bumper. So, yeah, I'll be half the way home by the time they run that.
Lucky you. Hopefully, yeah, not too wet given the forecast. Well, then we'll skip on to the 3 races that we're going to cover on the Sunday. Not all of them are priced up, obviously. We're just going to do a couple of them now, and we're going to kick off with the Jewson first up, and then we'll go into the Schloer and the Greatwood after that. And we've got Getapan Calange is the 9-2 favourite with City Chief 5-1. Your Own Story 7-1. Flash Colon is 8-1 with Gallia de Leto. And Cloudy Glen is the one who's a blue and oddschecker, 10-1 currently, but as short as 7-1 elsewhere. 12-1 bar those. As we say, conditions are set to change, and we, wouldn't be a massive surprise to see these cut up. Remember also that given, these are before final decks, if you do back a horse here and they come out at this stage, it would be a loser rather than a non-runner. Andy, do you see any value at this stage in the Juice and handicap?
Yeah, well, whatever you do, don't back Gallia de Leto or Found On. They ran today, so you've got 2 horses there quoted in the betting, which definitely won't run.
Yeah.
One down the bottom strikes me as being a good value here, around about 14-1. First Lord de Coué, a model of consistency last season. He ran in most of the good, strong staying races. scattered around the country. He was fourth in that really war of attrition at what it became at HWI and Quick Wave. He's probably found the ground, I think he's probably over the top by the time he ran at Weatherby behind Famous Bridge. But I don't think Famous Bridge is a decent horse, Nicky Richards is. But every time that he ran up to a good level. Second to Mon Big Genius, which reads well in the context of this race. He likes an undulating track. He's run well at Chepstow, and David Pipe won this race, I think, 3 years ago with a similar type, Ramillies Dete. So I always have a look at a David Pipe horse, staying chaser in these kind of races, and he fits the bill. So First Lord de Coué goes well fresh. Hopefully he'll give you a good run for your money there.
12-1 there, pretty much across the board. A couple of firms at the moment going 4 places as well. So First Lord de Coué, and as Andy says, if you take that 12-1, given a couple are likely to come out, you could make yourself, just by the nature of the race cutting up, you might get a bit of value. John Bon returns to Cheltenham and is the favourite for the Schloer Chase at 4-7. Edwardstone 11-4. Nuba Negra 13-2. Banbridge 8-1. Editeur de Gite 14-1. 25-1 Dancing on My Own. So even at this stage, just 6 in there, Andy. Do we reckon they'll all turn up?
Also, probably. I don't see any reason why they won't. Banbridge is the only possible that might not. I'm not sure what the riding plans, jockey plans are there. But if he comes over Banbridge, he's a dangerous opponent because he won well here early on in the season, last season, sorry. So he goes well fresh. And I think 2 miles is probably his trip, even though they tried him over 2.5. But it's all about John Bon. He was just brilliant last season. He only got beat the once. I absolutely really love John Bon. I kind of wasn't necessarily in the fan club until midway through last season, when some of the times he was doing were quite spectacular. He was unlucky to run up against El Fabiolo in the Arc. I think El Fabiolo will win this year's champion chase. And it all depends what they're thinking with John Bon, whether they decide to go against El Fabiolo again or maybe up him in trip. They could easily run him over 2.5 and step him up to the Ryanair. He looks as though he might get 2.5, but for now I think 2 miles is ideal. And we know Cheltenham, this track suits him. He's run well there before, so he's very much the new kid on the block, along with El Fabiolo in this division. And I think 1 to 2 is about right.
You can get a bit of 4-7 if you want. 7, yeah. Maybe if you're quick enough, a John Bon Captain Teague double.
I was just about to say that. I think if you can get 4-6 for Captain Teague, 4-7 John Bon, that's the professional buying money double of the weekend.
Please gamble responsibly.
Exactly.
But yeah, John Bon, can't see past for Andy. Oh. And finally, the Greatwood on Sunday, the last race we're going to cover in this incredibly efficient, I'm going to say, Cheltenham November meeting preview. We are looking at the Greatwood Hurdle, where only a matter of time is the 4-1 favourite. 7-1 Iberico Lord, Nemean Lion 15-2. Lola Sud is 8-1, Knickerbocker Glory 10-1, as is Lookaway, 11-1 Gin Coco, Lucia 12-1, 14-1 Bardos. Andy, give us a winner in the Greatwood, please.
Well, if it's really soft ground, I think that might just count against the favourite. Only a matter of time. He definitely wants good ground, according to connections. And even though he's been well found in the market, I don't think they're as confident as UK punters seem to have made him. He's one of those, I won't say a bogus gamble, but having spoken to those closely associated with the horse, I don't think there's a groundswell of confidence behind him like there is over here. I wouldn't be necessarily dipping my bread with him. The two that I quite like are Luda Sud, trained by Dan Skelton, and Punctuation by Fergal O'Brien. Anything that Dan Skelton runs in these 2 mile handicaps at Cheltenham, whether it be this meeting or in particular the festival itself, you've got to be taking notice of. Langer Dan, of course, won last year. I mean, the fact that he managed to win at 33-1 suggests that anything that he runs has got a chance. And he's had a brilliant record in the county hurdle over the years. I think he's won it two or three times. So Loda Sudu, very lightly raced type. The last time we saw him, he was finishing third in a very hot race at Kelso behind Benson. And he's been targeted at this race in particular, obviously owned by John Hales. And John Hales always likes a winner at this meeting, so he's definitely a candidate. And the other one, Punctuation, he comes off the back of a win at York last time out on the flat, so he's fitting well. And he also has got very good form at Cheltenham. He was 4th here at the April meeting last season. Perhaps when he'd had enough of hard races at the time. But the softer the ground, for better for Punctuation. So those would be my 2 against the field. Around about 8-1 Lola Sud, and I think we get 14-1, can't we, for Punctuation?
Yeah, exactly. You've taken the words out of my mouth. 8-1 and 14-1 about the 2 of them. 8-1 with 365 Skybet and 888, 14-1 pretty much across the board. Thank you very much to Andy, who spent the whole afternoon on the radio. He's taken the time out of his busy schedule to talk us through every race on Friday and Saturday.
Pretty much, most of them anyway, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Have a brilliant time at Prestbury Park, Andy. Look forward to speaking to you again next week. And thank you guys for taking the time to either watch or listen to this. Subscribe to the Oddschecker YouTube channel, where you can find plenty more of these Oddschecker betting shows and Racing Weekly every week as well. So keep your eyes peeled for those as they come up. Make sure you download the Oddschecker app for the best prices, bookie offers, free bets, and plenty more, including Andy's tips straight to the app every single morning of racing. Have an excellent weekend. Enjoy the racing, and please do ensure that you gamble responsibly.